Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Takedown as part of the Jackrabbit Illustrated Podcast Network, covering all things Jackrabbit athletics, specifically wrestling and football. It is conference tournament time, and for the second year in a row, we're glad to have our friend Sam Phillips on from Right and Natty Light, covering all things Iowa State wrestling, as well as the Pin XII podcast, and his co-host there, Cothran, will maybe be joining us soon. Haven't quite heard from Lee tonight. Don't know if something coming up, but that's okay. Life happens. Sam, how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Quick correction there. No longer Wide Right Natty Light.
No, I apologize.
Cyclone Fanatic After Dark is a whole thing with SB Nation, but pretty much the whole crew from Wide Right went over to Cyclone Fanatic.
Well, thank you for that correction, and make sure if you're looking for Sam's stuff, and you go over there because I enjoy Sam and I's interactions both on Twitter and DMs. If you want to talk wrestling, Sam's your guy. So
yeah, I'm around.
Jordan, how's sunny California tonight?
Oh, it's nice out here. A lot better than back in South Dakota, but I mean, not much different.
It says 55 today. It wasn't terrible.
Yeah, no, I know. Like when I was looking at the forecast, I'm like, gosh. I mean, one of my racing friends sent me a Snapchat, and like it's supposed to be 90 in Vegas next week when the high limits are out there, and I'm like, oh, good thing I'm not going no more. Like that's almost too hot for me.
Right.
Real quick on the racing topic before we get into wrestling. What's the deal with Reddick? I picked him as my keeper in NASCAR this season for my league with my friends, and turns out I'm looking like a genius. Is he just cheating or what?
I don't follow as much of the Sunday afternoon stuff anymore, but funny story, you probably didn't know. Sam, first time I saw Tyler Reddick race, he is 13 years old.
Shit.
He is I-80 Speedway racing against my uncle in a dirt super late model. So
that is crazy.
I remember my dad pointing down the pit road. So you see that black number 11 car? That kid's your age. Like then, my dad had to open his mouth like, well, when are you buying me mine? Obviously dad said it didn't work like that. But
No, it's funny that It's funny that you brought that up, and you brought the word cheating up because I'd seen some stuff on Twitter that is claiming that NASCAR's scared to tech them or whatever, and it's like there's way too much money and publicity in there. Like that is not true. Like rumor mills can go all day long, but I do not foresee just because it's Michael Jordan they get to cheat in the lawsuit that they won.
Yeah.
Well, it's hard to anymore too with the spec cars, and I have my own thoughts on that, but
figured I'd open up a can of worms there before we got into wrestling.
As if you've watched our show before between Jordan and Chad and I and all our backgrounds in racing, we often veer into sprint car territory because we all have worked for sprint car teams. So let's talk some wrestling, boys. So it's finally here. It's the most, I always call it the most bittersweet time of the year, right? Because it means the season's almost over, but at the same time, like toughest tournaments of the year, biggest matches of the year, you get those storybook moments. Maybe just before we get too deep in the brackets, what's everyone's takeaways from the regular season? Jordan, maybe you can talk to SDSU a little bit, and Sam, you give maybe Iowa State, Greater Big 12, and national kind of storylines we've had here so far.
I would say that for the SDSU stuff, I think that we all know that the season ended with a disappointment in the regular season. Your two rivals, we both got beat, or they both beat us. Came down to the final matches, and I know a lot of people are saying the sky's falling, and there's some mad people in the world. And like I said on Twitter, and I'll say it here again, like, trust in Damien. I stand behind Damien 100% in everything he does. And I think that they will get the ship righted. I think that some stuff happened this year that they didn't really expect to happen, but we can say it's bad things. We can say it's good things, but I think ultimately that the march is here, and we'll see some wrestlers go out there and do what they can. And I know there's some injuries and some stuff that people have to fight through, but everybody needs to fight through the same thing. Like nobody's healthy at this point in time, and not to be a dick, but these guys need to toughen up and grab their nutsack, throw it over their shoulder, and go out there and wrestle the next 3 weeks. And that's going to be how it is. Rub some dirt on it. And you got 3 more weeks to do this. And I know that's what Damien's preaching to some of the kids and stuff like that. Like, you got the off season to get healthy. Let's go finish strong. And I think SDSU should have a good finish here the next couple weeks, hopefully. And we'll forget about them 2 duels at the end of the year that everybody wants to look back on, because ultimately, yeah, when you recruit, you want to you recruit off duels of who you're recruiting against, but at the same time, you're going to get a kid to come to you that's a national champion, and because you have national champions or whatever. So there's that. I just want to give a giant shout out to Gage. I know that he signed earlier this year. He became a 4-timer, I think, right out. Yeah, 4-timer this year already.
I think 3, and he's going for 4 next year, but I could be wrong.
No,
I think you're right. 4 and going for 5, because you can wrestle 6 years in South Dakota. That's right.
Yep. So he's got 1 more. So shout out to Gage. We're excited to get you an SDSU and cheer you on. Good state tournament. I know we had a bunch of state champions, but that's the one that South Dakota really pays attention to, since he'll be one of our hometown kids. Sam, I'll let you take it over on Iowa State and everything else.
Yeah. I mean, Iowa State kind of coming into the year, last year was a huge disappointment with all the injuries and then underperformances at the Big 12 in the national tournament. So it was all about like, hey, are they going to get right? And for the most part, they did a lot of load management, which was really frustrating as a fan when you're trying to see them blow out teams and you're trying to see the great matchups. But for the most part, they made it to the finish. Of course, until the day when it was announced that Evan Frost is not wrestling at 133.
We'll get into that in a minute here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. But I mean, as an Iowa State fan, I'm still kind of holding my breath. Like, it's just with the way last year went, and like younger Bastida being the undefeated number 2 seed the season before that. I mean, I think Bastida is going to win it all in March, but you can't hold your breath on things like that with how he just kind of collapsed in the past. So there's no real feeling of safety there for Cyclone fans, but you do have the optimism. Like, the final dual score down in Stillwater, got our asses kicked, lost the first 7 matches, but it's just like, you're looking at the scores, you're like, I don't think there's any way Oklahoma State can win. I mean, maybe they win 4 of those again, like maybe they win 5. There's just, the margins are so slim. So I don't know. It's kind of fun being the underdog, where for a year there, Iowa State was up top, but now it seems like the general Big 12 can kind of unite against the Cowboys. And I wish Lee was here to defend himself.
Right. No, I definitely think you hit the nail on the head there. I think everyone's going to be chasing David Taylor and the Cowboys, and we'll get into some of the specific guys when we go through the brackets in a minute here, but that really has been the story of the season. And then if you look at, the other big story, especially nationally and in the tournament, is, obviously CBU, right? What's going to happen with that program? I've gotten, love to see it, to be frank. They've gotten a lot of traction the last couple of weeks because the administration shot themselves in the foot. If the administration wouldn't have made a big deal about the keep CBU wrestling singlets and kind of let stuff slide, no one outside of away. Yeah, no one outside of wrestling would have been talking about it in these programs, the Cleveland State, whoever, they unfortunately fold. But now this isn't just a wrestling story. This is, getting Barstool Sports, ESPN. People are talking about this, and they still have not released a statement. For those that maybe don't know what we're talking about, Sam or Jordan, when you guys want to fill everyone in there, people don't need to hear me ramble all night.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, so Cal Baptist said earlier this season, hey, we're cutting wrestling at the end of the season. It wasn't just wrestling. I think it was maybe men's golf, a couple other swimming. Yep. But which I don't know, the whole thing of Cal Baptist going from NAIA to D1 here in a decade. Maybe there's some other administrative flaws in that logic, but
maybe like a football program in that state. Anyhow, that's going up. It's entirely separate can of worms.
Yeah. We're getting into your FCS rivalries now.
Right.
I guess. Yeah. I'm not necessarily FCS anymore, but anyways, it's just Cal Baptist. What was your plan? And then, so they cut the wrestling team, and then, a team that had, kind of down this year, but had been building momentum since joining the Big 12 and turned into a pretty solid team. But what happened before their last dual meet, the wrestlers had been wearing their singlets inside out all year. They weren't going to rep CBU. Last home dual meet administrator comes in and tells them, hey, your season's over if you don't wear this singlet the right way, which is a bit absurd, I think, and not only that, but the way he said it and just seemed really manipulative.
Condescending.
Yeah, extremely condescending. That's exactly the right word, Alex. And rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. It's like, not only are you, you promised these guys 4 years, and not only are you taking that away, but you're threatening to take away their senior day and their chance at the postseason and all this stuff. So just a real bad look for Cal Baptist. But I have seen on Twitter a lot of people kind of associated with Keep Cal Bap Wrestling saying to keep your eyes peeled on the first session tomorrow. So I'm very intrigued about what that could be.
I think, trying to read between the lines, I think every team is going to come out and keep CBU wrestling warm-ups, which is just awesome. And there might be something, teams come out together in unity of that, which, wrestling, as we all know, wrestling's unique, right? It's like there is no other sport where like rivalries, you hate someone, but you'll be the first person to buy him a drink at the bar. I've got guys I wrestled against in high school are that way. I'm sure you guys are the same way. And it is a community, and we got to stick up for our own. And I need to find a way to buy one of those shirts because I don't know, I just need one. Yeah.
And so that'd be really cool. It's like, I mean, at this point, after how the administration's treated them, it's like, do you even want the wrestlers to end up there? Or it'd almost be better for a new program to spring up, which is of course highly unlikely, but you don't feel good about them going back there.
No,
you'll never be able to recruit anybody. I mean, people forget quick, and money helps solve things if you get some NIL or whatever in there, but nobody's going to just go there to risk hoping that they don't get treated the way that this team did this year.
Yeah. So because I'll probably give it away a little bit, those that know me, because it's near and dear to my heart. Do you guys know why Maryville University is one of the top D2 programs?
UNO.
Yeah, that's just the old UNO program. They literally plucked the program and dropped it there after it got cut. So that would be, I know people in the business of the days of NIL and the way Title IX works anymore, people are not in the business of adding sports anymore, but I don't know. That would be cool to see, especially another school in the region add a wrestling program and pick up those athletes and coaches.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, I think that's enough of that. Should we get into some brackets here?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
So first here, 125. We'll just go down the row here. We'll start. Jordan and I can maybe talk about the SDSU path, give some insight there. Sam, you can add anything there, and then once again, give the broader perspective. So I'll go first here, Jordan. We can kind of alternate for that portion. 125, Brady Roark, 4th seed. He's kind of been hurt. Disappointing loss to Ezekiel Witt, his first match back in competition, but otherwise had a solid year. He's got Sefton Douglas first round, kid he's beat before. Got Conrad Hendrickson second round. If he can win that, kid he's beat before. And if he does that, he's, one match away from an auto berth. There's 5 kids coming out of this weight, so you do have to win that 5th place match to auto bid. That's big. Just making the semis doesn't do it. You have to make the semis and then win your next match or win 2 more if you lose the semis. Other big things that stick out to me is I think top side Troy Spratley. I'll be shocked if we see anyone else in the finals from the top side. And I think that Strickenberger Poulin semifinal looms large. I don't think any of the other guys on the bottom side have anything for them. Jordan, Sam, what do you guys have to add to that when we're looking at this 125 bracket here?
Looking at the 125s on the top side there for SDSU, I mean, we look really good between Brady and Danny G. We've wrestled everybody but Troy this year on the top side, and we've beat them all. So, I mean, I think that going in we'll be pretty well off there. And obviously, like you said, Troy's the top of the class there. The bottom side, I mean, we lost to Ezekiel or whatever his name is from NDSU, which I'm going to tell a little story here quick for our listeners that Han told at luncheon one day, but I know some people can't get there. That kind of just blew a lot of that blew the coach's mind. Like, Brady wrestled with Clay the day before, came back from injury, took some time off, wrestled with Clay the day before, and Clay said that he told the coaches after practice, he goes, "That's the best Brady's ever looked." Or felt like in practice. He goes, "We're good, like we're perfect right now." And then Brady went out there and something got to him. I think some nerves and the border and everything got to him there, and he unfortunately dropped that match. And hopefully they get that changed around. But if Brady really is wrestling as good as he was in practice that day with Clay the day before, and we don't lay another goose egg like we did against NDSU, I think Brady's definitely gonna be in. I think he's wrestling like he was at the beginning of the year. And Clay said he felt really good, which I trust Clay 100% on that. And so I think that Brady will look pretty good here. The bottom half, there's just honestly a couple kids that we haven't seen this year. So I'm not too worried about that. I think, like I just said, I mean, I think Brady will be top 5 and qualify there, hopefully.
Yeah, I think, I like Rourke to qualify. I like him to make the semis. Hendrickson in the quarters, super short, stocky, really hard to score on guy, but I think Rourke gets it done there. And Witt, as far as, I think it's going to be Strickenberger and Poulin, kind of a toss-up. They've split this season for getting to the final out of that bottom half to go challenge Troy Spratley. But Witt is kind of a troublemaker in this bracket, like super inconsistent, but he's really long and lanky, and that seems to give guys fits.
Well, that was the weird part. I don't know if you caught any of the duel against NDSU, Sam.
No, I didn't catch that one.
It was just like I said, it was the length. It's like Witt would just like reach behind him, and he basically had a takedown, and it just almost Brady wasn't ready for that almost.
Yeah, and I mean, Witt he slowed down Luke Lillidahl the same way at collegiate duels. And he got the first takedown on him. So he's definitely trouble when he's on, but he also has head-scratching losses. I mean, almost like Strickenberger, really, because Strickenberger's super dangerous. I mean, Troy Spratley, I think people are maybe looking into him as the favorite a little bit too much here just because of how chaotic 125 is. Like, I think Spratley should be the favorite, but I would not put him more than 60-40 against either Strickenberger or Poulin.
No, I think both of those are good finals opponents for him. I think you do give him the edge. He's been there, done that. He's All-American, 3-time qualifier, blood round guy before. All AA'd, because obviously SDSU fans are all going to remember that insane Tanner Jordan comeback in the blood round. Cup 2-3 years ago, whatever that was. But, it's Troy Spratley's final year, and he's thinking national title, right? So that Big 12 championship, and that's the thing we haven't touched on yet. So let's touch on that. Is those that know how the seeding matrix works for wrestling, those semifinal matches, if you want to be a top 4 seed, are huge because the difference in that seed matrix between a first place and third place finish is ginormous. I work with AJ Nevels. STSU fans will know who that is. I don't know if you remember AJ Sam.
Oh, yeah.
But AJ and I were talking about that at work yesterday. Actually, he was saying he wishes he would have, won his third place match his senior year at Big 12s because it would have been a little bit easier path. And, he goes, instead I end up wrestling Greg Kirkfleet in the quarterfinals. And if I'd maybe had a little bit easier quarterfinal matchup, I make the podium. So
yeah, for sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's also like coming from the Big 12 where it's a solid respected conference. You could get a top 2 seed by winning the conference, depending on, even if you're not coming into the weekend as a top 2 guy, just depending on what happens in the other conferences.
In the Big Tens. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got anything here? Or otherwise we'll move to 133, and I know I said I'd let Jordan go first, but I think actually, Sam, it probably makes sense for you to go first on this one here after the news this morning.
Yeah, I mean, Jack's Forest, the 1 seed, which is an incredible story in itself. Was wrestling high school to start the year.
Wish Lee was here to talk about that, but yeah, we can start with that because, like I said, we get some SDSU only fans. Just Jack's Forest, what a story! Like you said, high school to start the season.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing. Like last summer, I mean, he's always been a top prospect, but last summer jumped levels and made the senior world team. And I think took 5th at Worlds, was right there in his semifinal
As an
in his bronze match.
18-year-old.
Yeah, as an 18-year-old. And at that point, I'm like, okay, why are we sending this guy back to whoop up on Pennsylvania high school kids? Like, we don't need to be doing that. At least send him to Oklahoma State to redshirt or something, or take a gray shirt in Stillwater. But came out, last fall. They're like, hey, he's going to graduate early. And he ended up in Stillwater in January, and no red shirt or anything. They're just letting him go, which I think is really good. As far as like, there's a lot of superstar freshmen, I think, in this class, and Jax Forrest is one of the most exciting. Like he lets it rip. So I will give him that. And
I was going to say, you know what he reminds me of?
Who's that?
An old school Iowa guy,
Yeah. Just action.
Scores, no matter what the score is, Iowa's not a Big 12 team, so we won't probably spend too much time on them here, but those old school, your Thomas Gilmans, your Matt McDonoughs, your Brett Metcalf, your Tony Ramos, they are just, no matter what that scoreboard says, they are looking for points.
Yeah.
That's what Jax Forrest reminds me of.
Yeah, absolutely. And his first round opponent is Iowa State's Garrett Grice, which is a huge story because Iowa State was supposed to have the 2-seed Evan Frost, who was an All-American 2 years ago, had weight issues throughout the season. I think the last match he wrestled was actually in that South Dakota State duel against Seton. And that means that they slide everybody up a seed, throw Grice in there. And Grice is good. I mean, if he would have been entered, like he beat Gage Walker, he beat Julian Farber. So I think he would have been the 5 seed if he was the original entry. But since they thought Frost was going to be able to go, and everyone's assuming it's a weight thing, just because that's been the story for 2-3 years on Evan Frost. But if you know that ahead of time, then you put Grice in there and he's in good position to allocate with there being 7 allocations at this weight. Now Grice gets drawn in unseeded, and that gives you some heartburn as an Iowa State fan, especially when he draws Jax Forrest in the first round. But there's like also go ahead.
Going for 8 to 7 allocations is huge too.
Yeah, that's one more match you got to win. And then like it's a tough weight. There's a reason it has 7 allocations. Like Kyler Larkin, super tough kid from Arizona State with, his brother at 157 is incredible too. Dom Serrano won this dang tournament last year for Northern Colorado. Gunnar Andrick is a really tough freshman for West Virginia.
Julian Farber was a finalist at this weight in this tournament last year. He's the 5 seed.
Yeah, he's super good. Like, it's a tough weight. And that's what I love about the Big 12. Like, you kind of get some shuffling. I feel like it's the right amount of shuffling around of guys, where the Big 10, it kind of feels like it's the same guys all the time. And you get some variations in performance. Like Dom Serrano, he was probably the 4 or the 5 seed last year when he won this tournament. Like, it's just a super fun tournament and a super fun conference.
And even I'm sorry if you have something to say, Jordan, just butt in. But even at the 7, Luke Willochill, I think, is a really underrated guy. It would not shock me if he upset Larkin in the second round and goes on to the semis, if not the finals. I mean, truthfully.
I don't think he'll upset him, but Luke gets legs in on you, and you better got good leg defense if you're going to wrestle Luke. He can put legs in and he can turn. He did both of our 133 pounders this year. Made him look silly with legs, honestly.
Now, was this weight class decided for South Dakota State at that open late in the season?
So that, and you've heard us talk to Han. Jordan, you take this one.
Yeah, it was decided at the open. I know that it wasn't an easy decision, and ultimately it came down to Han doesn't like wrestle offs, and ultimately it came down to we got to wrestle you guys off, and the winner gets it. And unfortunate for our senior Derek Cardinal, Seton got it. Fortunate for Seton, he won it. Like, I know that it was a tough decision, and it ultimately came down to the wrestle off in the end to decide how it was going to play out.
Yeah, Seton, he started off the year. Did he win the Tiger style? I think. Yep. Yeah, and so
he's no slouch at all.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll always ride for the Iowa kid. I mean, I think he's the only starter you guys got left, but usually the Jackrabbits are chock full of Iowa
kids. Yep.
So yeah, Cardinal was fun to watch. He was a solid guy for the past few years, but I think Seaton's going to be – I think it'll pay off well having him wrestle in this tournament as a young guy.
Yeah, Kale did everything he had to do right all year long, and I think that he gets his time to shine now, and it's going to be good. I'm happy for him.
And the one thing we haven't touched on yet, specific to Seaton before we move to 41, is that first round match. These guys wrestled 2 weeks ago, and it was an overtime match, and now right off the scale, they get to do it all over again. So that's if you're not that you're shirking your responsibilities at work, but if you're sitting there watching wrestling tomorrow morning, that's going to be one you should have your eyeballs on.
And then let's not forget, I haven't seen Garrett wrestle, but I've heard what the Iowa State fans are saying about him right now. And a lot of people in the Big 12 are saying about him right now. You're bouncing right back, and you're either wrestling him or Jax on the wrestle
either way is
back
going to be tough.
Right off. That is probably now, after that change, that is probably the worst draw SDSU got all tournament. Because
that's a really tough draw. I mean,
and
like
same
I said,
for North Dakota State.
In rightful, it kind of screws over. I understand, you need teams to get their entries in on time so they can properly seed the tournament, but it doesn't really necessarily screw over Garrett Grice. It screws over those guys, Doherty and Seaton. You've got a quarter with the 1, the 5, the 8, and Doherty.
And even Jax Forrest, I don't think there's a huge difference between Garrett Grice and Cale Seaton, but it's still, like you said, Grice is probably the 5 seed if he is allowed to pre-enter. So now you're wrestling a 5 seed as the 9, basically.
Yeah, right away. So it's I think it's the best way to do it, but I still don't love it.
And coming then off of it, you think Cale or the North Dakota kid, they both have a shot in that large bid at this weight if you need it. They're probably the 8-9 really in there.
But you probably
got
to
you're
go
going 0-2 in conference.
Yeah,
and
so
now
you probably got to go.
That's killing your rankings.
You got to go 2-2 to keep those at large hopes alive almost.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, if you don't get the 8th place spot here, then it's going to be really tough. I think, even though it's going to be tough.
Interesting weight to watch, like I said, especially on the news the past couple of days there. Let's move down to 141 here. This one, once again, I think, you got some big names in here. Julian Tagg, probably, I think bracket-wise, it's our best chance for a champ. Sergio Vega in the finals is going to be tough. Truthfully, I think Anthony Echemendia probably doesn't have much of a challenge until the finals on the bottom side there. But I think Tagg is super capable of hanging both those guys. He's wrestled both those guys close before. And I know Julian wants this bad. And once again, that Manville second round, assuming he takes care of business against Hilton, that wasn't super close in the duel. Tagg kind of handled business there. So I definitely like Julian at least locking in a 6th place finish and auto qualify here. If not, obviously his goal is probably bigger and better things than that even. I'll let you guys talk before we go top to bottom here maybe.
Yeah, I mean, Julian's matchup, if we get by Hilton there versus Manville, we won 8-3 at the beginning of the year and then 10-7.
Yeah.
And I mean,
that's nothing against Pearson Manville. I think Julian Tagg's just upped his game this year. I think Pearson Manville's a good wrestler.
I think Julian Tagg, but to be honest with you, and this is bad to say because I hate to put pressure on kids, but I think he might be a dark horse to AA. At the national tournament, this kid is good when he wrestles good. He's had 2 bad tournaments all year. Vegas was horrible for him, but throw that out. And his only other loss is to Drury, which at University of Utah Valley.
So he wants that one back. Bad. We talked to him about it.
And that one wasn't, it was close matches that Julian just ultimately made mistakes on both times they've wrestled this year. It was a 3-5 match and an 0-2 match. And then he got beat by Max Brady at the mid-major national duels or whatever they're called. And that was a week's worth of wrestling that I think we overused him on. And I wish he would have got the chance to repeat against him at the dual hair in Brookings, but they didn't wrestle him. I think they might have tried to do that for seeding, and unfortunately, it didn't work out for them. Like,
it hurt both guys, honestly.
Yeah, like they should have wrestled them.
Yeah,
Sam, what do you think
I think
when you look here?
This is like low key a super interesting weight. Probably the weight I'm third most looking forward to here at the Big 12 tournament, because you got Sergio Vega, your top seed. Oklahoma State's loaded with these true freshmen, and that's why, like, going into the year, I thought Iowa State was pretty heavily favored to win the Big 12 because I didn't think there was any way that all these freshmen would pan out like this.
And that's just it. Oklahoma State's gotten better. National duels, it looked like Iowa State and Nebraska were dark horses to maybe even challenge Penn State.
Yeah. And then, Oklahoma State, you pull in an improvement at 133. Sergio Vega is the real deal. I don't think he's even given up a takedown this year, which is just crazy. But yeah, you look at Anthony Etchemendia, the 2 seed was right there in that match with Vega. Hayden Drury has been around forever in this conference, going back to his Fresno State days. If you want to talk about Southern California wrestling programs getting dropped, like it's crazy that Hayden Drury is still, I think he qualified as a freshman and hasn't been back since. But so I think that would be a cool story if he qualified. Julian Tate, I go back to his wins over Cale Happel last year, even completely validates that when he's on, he can AA. So I think it's super fun. You've got Jordan Titus as an unseeded guy in this bracket.
Yeah, we didn't even talk about Jordan Titus when Jordan and I were talking.
It's just so deep. Like, Titus hasn't been good, but you never know when a guy like that's going to turn it on. And then
he beat Julian in Vegas. He was one of Julian's losses in Vegas this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he was 1-2 matches away 2 years ago from standing on the podium.
Yeah. He's been right there before. And I don't know if guys got a scouting report on him or what, but he's kind of flatlined, and you never know when those guys are going to jump back up to their best level. And then you throw in the young blood, Max Brady for UNI gets thrown in there when Corey Land gets injured. And that kid's a goer. I like watching him wrestle. He took down Etchemendia twice in the third period in that dual meet.
No, definitely some interesting storylines here. Vega and Etchemendia, I think, are the class, but I think this will be the most interesting to watch throughout the week, personally. 149, Jordan or Sam, you guys start us off here.
I can take this one because there's a lot of Iowa State tie-ins. Your top seed, Casey Swiderski from Oklahoma State.
Yep.
South Dakota State fans might remember him from his time at Iowa State the past few seasons. Even when he was at Iowa State, I'm like, man, I love that this guy's on our team, but I would absolutely hate him if he was on another team. And sure enough, he's on another team now, and I am praying on his downfall. Just a great anti-hero, and I do like that wrestling has those guys. So really fun top seed there, Casey Swiderski. Your 2 seed, Jacob Frost. Theoretically, the reason why Casey Swiderski transferred out of Iowa State was because Jacob Frost was going to have the spot, and then Swiderski takes him out in the dual meet. So that's kind of the final that people are eyeing. But then the other storylines here, David Evans transfers from Penn State to Utah Valley, kind of following that Terrell Bearclaw path. So We'll see how far he can go in the tournament. Maxwell Peterson's had a really good year for NDSU. Josh Edmond, another guy who's been around forever, is the 5 seed for Missouri. But another weight class that goes deep. You've got Caleb Rothgen at UNI, Paul Kelly at Cal Baptist, who I really hope it stays in the Big 12 if he ends up not being at Cal Baptist next year. And then your 8 seed Gabe Willichell, really dangerous guy. And Casey Swiderski first round has unseeded Willie McDougald, who's, I think it was like 2021. He was a Big 12 finalist for OU. Yeah. And I think that's a really interesting matchup because of Swiderski's temperament. He gets frustrated really easily, and McDougald straight up stalls his ass off and just waits for guys to get frustrated. So
he looks for stalemates. Yes, as horrible as that is to say, but
so I think tactics-wise, that's going to be an interesting first-round match. Not because of the action, but because of the tactics.
Yeah, with the SDSU kid, we're sending Colin. I know we entered Alec to start the week, but unfortunately,
just couldn't get healthy.
Yeah, I don't know if it's public knowledge or not, but I'm going to say it here anyways. I think his career's over. He walked on senior day. He could have one more year red shirt, but from that and then his post on Instagram the other day, I think it's done. Unfortunately, he got a concussion against Wyoming and could never get cleared again. And just hasn't been able to get cleared for this week. And unfortunately, he doesn't get to go. So we're going to send Colin. And I mean, really, if you look at it, to be honest with you, Colin was our third or fourth string to enter the season. There's no expectations at 149 for the Jackrabbits, really. I mean, we all have faith in Colin to go out there and do what he can do, but nobody's going to burn the bridge or village down and watch the sky fall if Colin doesn't do anything here. And hopefully that works in Colin's favor, that there's no pressure and he just go out there and just let loose and have fun.
No, I'll just add, Chad and I have talked about it before at duels. That's one thing you can never take away from Colin Dupil and has me so excited about his future because, kid's a redshirt freshman, is he wrestles hard in every position, no matter what the score is. Kind of like we talked about with Jack Force. He's almost like an old school Iowa guy. Not that dominant level yet, but the effort is always there. He's strong. His technique isn't low sound, but he's a strong kid, from down in the holler, Tennessee, and he's gonna wrestle you, no matter what you're doing. I think Josh Edmonds is kind of a tough draw off the scale. Josh Edmonds is probably a little underrated in my opinion. I think him and Swiderski are on a collision course for the semis, and that's going to be a really good match. I'm definitely going to be drinking a beer watching that Friday night. Looking forward to that. But I think this will be, no matter how it pans out, I don't know that I'm super confident in Colin's ability to steal a spot, but I do.
And there's only 5 here, so
yeah,
that's a tall task for an unseeded wrestler.
Yeah, to get back to that consolation semis and win that 5th place match. But I think this will be good for Colin. He's got 3 years left after this. Like I said, he's shown some promise, and I think it'll be a good experience for him no matter what happens. I don't think he goes 0-2 barbecue. I think he can beat Hollingsworth. I don't think Peterson will have a problem with him. We saw Peterson didn't really have a problem with Colin at the duel, unfortunately. But I like Colin's matchup against Hunter Hollingsworth, and then you get cross bracket there. Paul Kelly or Caleb Rathjen. I don't love him against Rathjen, but if Kelly somehow squeaks through there, I think he can hold his own against Paul Kelly, and we'll see where that goes from there.
Yeah, it's just a super deep weight, and so similar to 141, I think it's going to be a lot of fun to see. And with only 5 allocations, like that backside's going to be a brawl.
Yeah, it's going to be brutal. 157 social media star Caleb Larkin, the 1 seed. I don't know. You guys follow him on Instagram. He and his brother are both pretty fun follows. I'll throw that out there.
Okay, I've seen a little bit. It seems remarkably uncringe for a wrestling social media guy, I would say.
He's like a Caleb Henschel light if you follow any Caleb Henschel stuff. Kind of does like a lot of his own commentary of his own matches, that sort of thing. But
yeah, I like that.
This is a very interesting weight class for me. Caleb, since we're talking about him, we watched him as a 149 pounder this year. His last match at a 149 pounder was ASU versus SDSU. And
he wasn't impressive there.
He really wasn't. Like, he was really good leg defense. Like,
he's a guy
you just couldn't get him taken down. If you took him down I'll say the game plan was if you get to his legs and take him down one time, we felt comfortable with Alec Martin against him at 149.
And we stole that match.
Well, no, we didn't. We didn't in the end. We didn't get to.
I'm thinking tag. Sorry.
Yeah, tag we stole. But yeah, 149. No, we didn't steal that match. But we only lost by like 3. I haven't seen him wrestle at all at 157. But there's some stronger guys that I don't necessarily know if the leg defense is going to work towards the end of the tournament and everything like that. Like, you got some weight there that these guys could finish on you on. But,
go ahead.
Go on, Sam.
It's insane to me that this weight class only has 5 allocations. I think I said 141 is my third favorite. This is definitely my top weight class to watch at the Big 12 tournament because you have all the high-end talent, Caleb Larkin, Landon Robidoux, Vinny Zerbin, Ty Waters, and then you have like your next tier is Gavin Drexler, who was an All-American last year, Kira Swenson, who was a blood rounder, who's the 7th, Teague Travis, who has been a top 10 guy in his career. Like, Jared Hill's been in this conference forever. So I still can't figure him out.
Always solid.
He's going to get a win over someone here that's going to make you shit your pants. Like, oh, he's still around. Like, it's going to be so much fun. Yeah. Like, and I completely agree with what you said about Larkin letting guys in on the legs, because in that match between him and Zerbin in the Iowa State Arizona State duel, I think Zerbin spent 4.5 minutes of that match in on a single leg and didn't finish once.
Couldn't finish.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's the same thing. I get really nervous about picking Larkin to win matches because eventually a high level guy,
someone's going to score.
Yeah, they're going to figure that out. But we haven't seen it yet in Big 12 action. So
I think if you're Landon Robidoux, you're cussing a little bit because how is Teague Travis a 7 seed? Like he talks about, I know his season hasn't been great, but if you just look at, and because wrestling, we're really bad about this versus other sports and subject to it. You look a couple years back, it's like, yeah, his season hasn't been that great, but how is Teague Travis a 7 seed?
And I don't even know that it hasn't been that great. It's just been short. Like, he came to Missouri second semester because he wasn't gonna. It looked like Robidoux was gonna be the guy at Oklahoma State, and so using his last year of eligibility there. But yeah, that's super dangerous. Like, I'm worried about that if I'm an Oklahoma State fan.
Yeah, for sure. The one thing, elephant in the room, I guess we haven't even talked about yet. Cale Swenson gets hurt in the NDSU duel, and that loss probably dropped him from the 4, if not maybe even the 3 seed to the 6 seed. And how healthy is that knee? Kale's a freestyle guy. He's good on his feet. He wants to score on his feet. That's how he wants to win matches. And he showed a lot of grit against Drexler, and I don't think he's terrible on top, but anytime you got a bum leg, it's hard to get off bottom. And it's what does Kale's health look like? I think if Kale can win a match, which I think he can beat Takara, he's probably okay for an at-large here, but definitely from the Jacks perspective, what we're going to be watching this weekend.
Yeah, I mean, we beat Takara 13-1 earlier this year.
Right.
And so I could be wrong, as we all know that injuries and stuff can mentally do that, but I don't think even a bum leg is a 12-point difference. I think we should get by the Utah Valley kid, and then I know Kale's beat Vinny twice. Overall, he's 2-0 against him in their career.
Close matches, though.
Yeah, and I was going to say, I don't see Kale winning that match.
If he's not healthy.
No. And I think, so with that, I think that then you're bouncing to the backside. And, then you're either going to get
Schneider or Hill.
Yeah. Which
I don't like that Hill matchup, but it is what it is.
Yeah. That Hill, Hill pinned us this year in Wyoming.
Yeah.
And really, if with a bummed leg, that's going to make Hill even more of a favorite, because what happened that match was Hill stalled out the whole match until the end, pretty much, and Kale never got a takedown. And then we got thrown in the end in almost a body lock pin. I don't even know. It was just weird, but I think
lazy on our part.
I'm
not afraid to say that. I think Kale would agree with me. He was kind of lazy at the end of that match there.
Yeah, and you don't want to face him again, especially with a bummed leg, because we got to score points on him to beat him. When we beat him, we've scored points on him. So I don't know. And then obviously, the Drexler match, that's a kid that you're gonna have to beat to get a spot probably somewhere. And we lost to him by a takedown with a bummed leg. I don't know. It just the scoring gets taken away, and that gets scary. I mean, the Cal Baptist kid we only beat 3-2. We only got one takedown against him, and now we got a bummed leg. Like, there's a lot of stuff that Kale's going to have to get tough here. The dog's going to have to come out in the Swen's dog, and we're going to have to go to work, but we'll see what happens, and hopefully he does, and everything's okay.
Yeah, that's a good call. I think Morton from Cal Baptist is a sneaky unseeded guy here. And yeah, the good news is if you're looking at this from, South Dakota State having a 6 seed, I think at least 2 guys from the Big 12 are getting wild cards at this weight.
Yeah.
So that's looking on the bright side. I think you got some cushion there, but it's going to be a dogfight. And
like I said, I think he's put enough hay in the barn. He can go 1-2. He's probably okay.
Yeah. And I mean, I was there. We talked about I was at the Minnesota South Dakota State duel, and I saw Swenson go there and take out Charlie Millard, who's a really good wrestler. And that was really cool because Swenson, being from the West Metro, had a ton of fans there. They were chanting his name and stuff in the away arena. So that was a really cool moment. And so, yeah, I hope he can get it done here.
165. I think, this weight doesn't have some of the star power as some of the other weights. I think it's probably a Lockett Downey collision course for the finals. Max Mayfield, probably a little bit better than his record's been this year, but I don't know that Lockett has any issues with him. That said, SDSU perspective, Marcus, tough draw second round there. I don't think he'll have any issues with Trujillo. I think that Lockett match will be tough, but I don't, the backside goes chalk. He hasn't had issues with any of those guys, Well, we haven't wrestled.
We actually lost to the North Carolina kid or Northern Colorado kid this year, 1-4.
Did we?
Oh,
Yeah.
Schultz. Yeah.
Yep.
I was looking. Schultz had some good wins there.
I guess we can't drop the first one then, but
No, we need to win the first one, and we only won that one 4-1. But that was also that stretch that I don't know if he was banged up, if he was sick, what was going on. I never got the official story on that, but he just didn't look good there for a couple weeks.
I'm not super worried about it. And then, like I said, you go backside there, assuming we drop to Lockett. Greeley, we obviously worked him. Givronski, he doesn't scare me. So I like our odds to do damage on the backside here. Only 4 guys, or I'm looking at the wrong conference. No, I'm not. Only 4 guys out of this weight. So making that consolation semis is big. I think there's a couple guys here that could be at larges for sure, but they're going to have good conference tournaments.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even if you drop that consi semi, one of the top criterias for selecting the wild card is were you 1 spot away from qualifying.
Yes.
So it's tough to,
that 5th place match is huge.
Yeah, especially right after, you're cut. You got to bounce back and try to build your resume right after that. So, and those matches come real quick in that morning or that noon session on Saturday. Yep. So that's going to be really interesting. Fun fact here, I'm noticing on your bracket, does Max Mayfield just has 1 X in his name?
Yeah.
Yes, which I think is incorrect.
It's actually correct. My bracket has it with 2 X's. I learned this week. So he's like a 6th, 7th year senior at Missouri.
Yeah, he's been around forever.
Started at Northwestern. And apparently when he started at Northwestern, his social media was Max with 2 X's because there was already a Max with Mayfield with 1 X. And they put him on their roster with 2 X's and he just never corrected them. And now finally in his probably second to last tournament of his career, he's getting it corrected. So
I've seen something on social media about the whole, did he drop an X? So that makes a lot of sense now.
Yeah. So I think that quarterfinal between him and Connor Uten is going to be really big here. D Lockett, not the most exciting guy, but his match with Ryder Downey in the dual meet in the regular season was super exciting. Frankly, Ryder Downey blew that match. So we'll see how that one goes. I think it could be a really good final. And I'm really high on Nico Ruiz. He blew the doors off Connor Uten and looked good last season too. So I think he's a dangerous guy in this bracket as well.
I think Ryder Downey's still my favorite at this weight, but I think that Ruiz match might be closer than what Lockett or Mayfield will give him in the finals, honestly.
Yeah.
My personal opinion.
Yeah, I think Ruiz is a dog. And that's going back to the Arizona State of old when they were winning trophies. Like,
Yep.
This is what they did. They turned it on in the postseason, and we haven't really seen that out of them in their Big 12 era. But it'd be a heck of a time for Zeke Jones to pull that out of his back pocket.
Well, he can. That's the hallmark of back in the quote unquote glory days of Arizona State is them finding bonus. And it would not shock me if Nico Ruiz has bonus in his first 2 matches. If you talk about team race dark horse a little bit, he could put up some bonus points here.
Yeah, for sure.
Nobody has anything else. We'll move to. Did you have something, Jordan?
No, I was going to say, just looking at this, bouncing back with if we lose in the quarters with Marcus, then you're either going to get Max or you're going to get Connor, and they both beat us this year, so we'll have to pull an upset there to really get going. But, I'd take
that'd
Marcus
be the blood round match, which is still going to be tough. You
got to get all the way to the semifinals to allocate a spot, in the losers bracket semifinals.
Yeah. No, it's going to be tough. I think once again, Marcus, if he can get to that 5th place match, he's probably sitting pretty. 6th place, 7th place might be a little uncomfortable, but he's had a decent year. It'll be interesting to see where he falls. I think he's probably a little underseeded. He's wrestled some really good guys really close, and unfortunately close, doesn't count. You got to find a way to win those matches. So hopefully that starts this weekend.
Well, that's what I was going to say. The thing about the Twins here, and maybe it's a generalization because I can't tell them apart, but they are both so stingy. It seems like they're just always in matches.
And especially we'll get to 174 in a second here, and maybe that's a good segue is Moses is another one of those guys where it's you almost want to tell him to lift off the throttle a little bit sometimes. He'll be up by 3 or 4 in a match and still initiating action, even if he hasn't been warned. It's dude, you can take a breather here a little bit.
Yeah, exactly.
And so with that 174, another pretty deep weight this conference. We've got 7 allocations to show for it. I think that sets Moses up pretty. I'll be curious if you were to talk to Moses, what he thinks of having a first round bye. But I like that Steed matchup. If you're going to pick one of those top 4 guys, I think Steed's his best chance.
Well, we beat him 12-8 at the Tiger Style.
Right. I was going to say, he's beat him before. Obviously, Cam Steed's a dude. He's tough. Was he a finalist at Big 12s last year? I'm drawing a blank. But
I think he was – I forget. He lost to Peyton Hall super close. I want to say that was in the final. He was an All-American last year, though. I know that. He made the medal stand at the NCAA tournament.
So, like I said, really tough guy. But I think it's a guy Moses is capable of beating. And even if not, you go cross backside here. Sema, we probably want that one back. But we beat Davis. We beat Valencia. There's – I don't know. I think Moses is going to have no problems getting top 7. And I really like his odds of being a dark horse to make the semis here. I think that Schubert match will be interesting if that happens, just because I don't see anyone else coming out of that bottom quad. But what do you guys think when we look at this bracket here?
I think that, honestly, if I know you said that you thought Gabe was maybe a sneak in finalist. I think if we have a finalist, it's at 174 this year.
Sure.
Maybe 197, but so far we'll get into that later. But so far, the only weight I see us having a semifinalist at, honestly, is 174. We beat Cam 12-8, and we beat Hudson 11-5 in our duels this year against them. So, we have the upper hand. I know Cam was at the beginning of the year. Moses really had a gas tank at the beginning of the year. Other people have built a gas tank as the years went on. But I think that that's a match that I would take Moses in all day long, probably again. And then we lost to Carter 1-2 in the Tiger Style Open, which I think Moses has got so much better on his feet as the years went on too. Or we've scored more takedowns, I feel like, with Moses a little bit in tough situations. So I would take Moses even over Carter maybe in a good semifinals match. Personally, I think this 174 is the weight class that the Jackrabbits are probably going to be the happiest with at the end of the tournament, or we're going to be the most disappointed with because it did not go our way at all.
Yeah, this is another deep weight class. a lot of these guys, it's just like a toss up. Like Carter Schubert, where the hell did he come from? He was a mid 157 pounder last year.
And you could almost say the same about Moses, though, right?
Yeah, true. And both those guys beat Cam Steed like the first or second weekend of the season. So, and I've always been a Cam Steed guy. Like, I just think he's super talented. And when he turns it on, he's one of the best in the country. Alex Facundo comes in from Penn State, follows David Taylor there, and has been pretty good. One thing about Oklahoma State I think is so interesting is from 125 to 157, they are lighting up the scoreboard, each and every one of those guys. And then you go from 165 to heavyweight, and it's just a flip, like almost like a complete philosophy on how to wrestle completely differently. So super defensive guys. Facundo's wrestling a lot of close matches and just finds a way to win. And then your Iowa State wrestler here, MJ Gaitan, he beat Pat Kennedy in the dual meet, and then a week later loses to Guillermo Escobedo. If he's wrestling like the guy that beat Pat Kennedy, MJ Gaitan's winning this bracket. If he's wrestling like the guy who lost to Guillermo Escobedo, MJ Gaitan's going 1-2. Like,
and I didn't even talk about it. I think Gaitan's probably my pick to win this weight. Honestly, I like him against Facundo. I like him against all the guys on the bottom side, especially Schubert. I think Steed's an interesting match, but
yeah, and Gaitan, he's just prone to mental lapses, and they've cleaned up, as he's matured and over the past few seasons. But that he lost that match in the Schubert duel, it was just simple. Like, he got his escape in the second period and didn't defend immediately, just stood up, and Schubert shot in and took him down. Like, kind of day one wrestling stuff, like defend yourself as soon as you get away.
Keep your hands in front of your legs, stuff you teach 5-6-year-olds.
Yeah, exactly. But then, MJ Gaitan will reach back and grab the head and pin the guy, and you got bonus points, and you're loving him when he's not listening to day one advice then. So who am I to complain? I'm just on the roller coaster.
Got nothing else there. We'll roll to 184 here. I think Brock Fettig, he's a tough kid. He didn't fare super well against Isaac Dean in the duel. I think Alonzo backside's not going to be a big deal. I think overall picture, I think Knightenbach and Ryder in the semis might be the best match of this bracket. I think that's really interesting to me. And I think Bush probably upset Sinclair in the semis. Maybe that's controversial, as good as Sinclair's been this year, but I don't know. If I had to call it now, I'm calling a Ryder over Bush finals, I think.
I like that. That's a hot take, but I like it. Ian Bush, I think he was up at 197 last year.
Yep.
And he took out like Joey Novak or someone on the backside to qualify. So he's been really good for West Virginia. I kind of just plug and play, like wherever they can fit him in the lineup. So it's cool to see him at his spot. Aiden Sinclair, I think, is out of the 184 pounders in the country, like the national, there's that young crop, right? And so many of them are so defensive, and Sinclair does get that way. But when he opens up, I think he's super fun to watch. So I like Sinclair for that. That's why he's my pick. Ryder had the shoulder issue where he missed some time. I think he wrestled against Iowa, against Gabe Arnold. So he won that match, looked fine, but
say he won that 2-1.
Yeah, and tiebreakers. And I mean, if you're talking tiebreakers, Isaac Dean will meet you there. That guy does not like scoring in regulation, which is pretty frustrating as an Iowa State fan. But if he's winning, it makes it a lot more bearable, right? So that quarterfinal with Ryder and Dean is interesting. Nick Fox from UNI is a young guy who I think has, he beat Zach Ryder in the dual meet. So I think he's got some really good potential for UNI. And then Aiden Bruneau made the blood round for North Dakota State last year. So, and that's my whole thing is like North Dakota State completely turned it on for the Big 12s in the national tournament last year. Is that replicable? Like, I feel like I'm maybe overcompensating with that in the back of my mind.
You hate them because you hate them and the rivalries in the other sports. Our coaching staffs are actually pretty close. And I do think Coach Blanc has done a really nice job since he took over.
Especially with the way they were gutted. Like Kish took
the way Kish took everyone with him. I was just gonna say, dare I say I think Blanc's done a better job at NDSU than Kitch has done in Oklahoma since then.
Yeah, I would agree.
I don't even think that's that controversial to say that.
Well, and I will say in Kish's defense, like he got a bunch of shit luck this year. Like Big Jordan, your
For
top
sure.
recruit, decides he's going to join the Army or the Marines or whatever. Hippolito, really good transfer portal guy, blows out his ankle. Who else? Peyton Keller just ends up being a bust after being an AA. Like kind of a string of unfortunate events, but that's part of coaching is you got to have depth.
I was going to say, I think even though last year comparatively with resources,
yeah.
I don't know how much you know about NDSU as an athletic program, Sam, but they care about football and a little bit men's and women's basketball, and everything else is like a poverty budget.
Okay.
There's a
I guess
reason
that doesn't really surprise me.
It's the reason they're going to the Mountain West for football, and it's because they spend 4 times on football what they do the rest of the athletic department combined.
That's crazy. Well, especially like when you juxtapose that against South Dakota State, who's made great investments into like their wrestling facilities and all that.
And, not to get on our high horse, but that's Kevin Marshall, who sometimes jumps on. He's one of the premier voices, national media member for the FCS. And we were on one of our football shows this offseason. We were talking about it, and Kevin was in the comments. And I text Kevin. I've gotten to know him pretty well doing this every so often. And Kevin said the biggest difference is NDSU has a football department. South Dakota State has an athletic department.
Yeah, and it's really, I think, started to show. Yeah, and then, man, I'm just thinking about Kish. Like, it seems like some of his best success has been with North Dakota State guys. Like, we'll get to it at the next week class. But DJ Parker was super
Juan
fun
Mora.
at North Dakota State. Well, yeah, Juan Mora. Like, it's interesting how that works out.
I think that at this weight with Brock, I mean, like you said, Isaac doesn't like to score a lot. Brock's beat Isaac before in the past. The first time
and
they
that
ever
dual
wrestled.
match was close.
And it was a 5-8.
It was, yeah,
in the match.
And I was thanking God that Dean gave up the first takedown so we could actually see him try to do some wrestling moves for once.
Right.
I was just gonna say that is a match that I think Brock can win, or that is like a possible one that I'm excited to watch. But I'm gonna say I'm excited to watch the last 10 seconds of the match.
Right.
See who wants to wrestle, not the first 6 minutes and 50 seconds. Because they're gonna win that match on who takes the last takedown and scores if they don't 90% of the time.
Yeah, I think health is a big factor at this weight too. Like Isaac Dean's missed a lot of time recently. Zach Ryder's missed time. Brian Soldano, I think, got hurt in his last match. Like,
Brock
who the heck is going to survive
out versus NDSU hurt?
Okay.
Yeah,
so I think that makes it really interesting. I actually had Sinclair over Nightenbach here. I think Wyoming's done a really good job with the upper weights, so I like.
Yeah, and you and I both touched on it briefly here, Sam, but it would not shock me at all for Eddie Nightenbach to win this weight. Like, that would, it's not my pick, but it would shock me zero.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's a tough wrestler.
With Brock, he's wrestled 9 times this year, or he's wrestled 9 times out of the kids in this conference tournament. 8 of the 9 have came down to a 1 takedown or less match.
Right. $197. The big story for SDSU fans here is Bennett Berge probably goes from the 2 seed to the 4 seed by just senselessly dropping that match against Devin Wassley. And that's nothing against Wassley. I think Wassley is a good wrestler. I think this is a very deep weight class as well. But Bennett making it that much harder on himself. Now you got to face Rocky Elam in the potential semis versus the finals, and that's a big difference. Not to take anything against Maryland Novak either. I think that's going to be a blast tomorrow night to watch those guys go. Just because, spoiler alert, I don't see anyone on the bottom side giving those guys much of a challenge.
No, I think that. But you say Rocky in the semis. I'm not so sold on Rocky beating Hawks. I mean,
that's a very interesting first round match.
That's a bad draw for Rocky. Yep, former
teammates.
I think those two guys must have bankrupted Missouri's athletic training budget with all their injuries over their careers at Mizzou.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun match that I'm excited to watch. That first round is that Rocky Colton match, being former teammates and everything to see. I do think ultimately Rocky gets the upper hand in it, but I think that that'll be a lot closer match than if someone's going to upset Rocky, that might be where it happens at.
Yeah. And you guys know Rocky Elam well from his battles with Tanner Sloan.
Days.
He's not afraid to win ugly, which gets a little frustrating at times. But when he's like got it rolling, he's getting the tilts going, he's getting to his leg attacks. He can be,
and
really
he's good at that. But it's even like, even if you watch Rocky Elam wrestle freestyle, he's not afraid to win 2-1 on a push out. Which is just so annoying.
Get a shot clock point and a push out and sit on it, like control center. It's something else. But hey, he's on my team now, so I love it, right?
Right.
And so I mean, honestly, he is so good at it. Like I think he beats Josh Barr in the national finals. I think he wins this weight class. This is my second favorite weight class at the Big 12s. Joey Novak's super tough. Cody Merrill, really good freshman. Then you add in Bergie. Has Bergie wrestled DJ Parker before?
So he lost his SDSU debut was against DJ Parker 2-3 years ago in the duel.
That's right, because Bergie had like a super worried redshirt year, didn't he?
As a true freshman, super close match, probably should have won it. And they've wrestled since, and it hasn't been like super close. So I'm not, if you know, and that's part of it with Bennett. You know, that was part of why he moved up this year. The weight cut was tough for him at 84, right? But even still, Bennett doesn't have the best gas tank. And you saw that against Wassley if you watched that duel. He got to Wassley's legs like 5 or 6 times and only finished one of them. And that was the big story. And then Wassley just wore him down at the end. So, you know, that's like we said, we talked about DJ Parker. You know, he's had some good seasons at both NDSU, excuse me. Wow, that would have been a major club. Both at NDSU and Oklahoma, and I think that's a really interesting second round match. But I think if Bennett scores early, he can kind of cruise in that one. I don't think Perry is a concern at all.
We teched Perry. Yeah, I'm not concerned about him at all.
Yeah, this is just the unseeded guys. There's weights in the Big 12 where the unseeded guys aren't that interesting, but this too, like John Gunderson has some really good freestyle wins. Jordan, you mentioned Colton Hawks. He freaking beat Justin Rademacher this year. Like he's unseeded because I don't even know if he has a Big 12 win. He lost Iowa State's backup, but he also beat a top 10, top 5 guy. So
and he was always a fringe guy at Mizzou too. And it's just it's so weird they're both here. And I think both guys are better than Evan Bates personally, but that's nothing against Bates. Bates is a good wrestler too.
Well, in Bates, I've had a hard time figuring him out as well. Like he's looked
for sure
tough, but then his match against DJ Parker, I think DJ Parker teched him like 30 seconds into the second period. It's just like, these old guys, like sometimes they just take nights off. It seems like.
Yeah. The nights off. I think that puts it perfect with these old guys. Like they don't care to win every match anymore. I don't think they only care to win in March. As long as they win in March, they don't care sometimes.
And I think I heard Brock Hardy say this. He was talking about like his losses against Vega, and he's like, I think coming back as like a super senior, like I just wanted to fast forward to the national finals and like get my lick back there. Sure. And I forgot like there's all these hurdles. Like you build that up, of course, in your mind, but you don't think about all the hurdles week in and week out. So,
you're a guy like that, and you've been there. I almost wonder you take some of it, like you said, you take some of it for granted. Like, I'm going to go to the conference tournament. I'm going to place top 3 and I'm going to go to nationals and shit's going to get real Friday morning, right? Like I'm going to have no issue Thursday night sort of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it turns out these young, hungry guys are tough to beat too.
No, I think the only thing I'll add before we wrap up here, and you know, we texted during the duel, you watched it too, Sam. I think to some of your point, you know, if Bennett and Elam do collision course Friday night, I think if you're Bennett, your game plan is you have to stay out from under Elam. You know, I think Bennett has a chance to win some of those exchanges on their feet, but if you get either taken down or Elam chooses top, he's going to ride Bennett like a dog. And Elam is a huge 197-pounder too.
Yeah. I mean, and there's matches where it looks like Elam, it's like hard to tell if he's gassed or not, but I think he gets away with maybe not having the best conditioning because he rides guys like you save so much energy there.
That was where, turn back the clock 2-3 years ago, where he and Sloan were always so tough is right. Tanner was a huge 197 pounder too. Tanner probably, well, not now. He hasn't been lifting as much. I saw him around town the other day. But Tanner was probably like a 210, 215 pound, 197 pounder too. And, that was what made him tough. Those guys just had both such similar styles. As they were going to get the first takedown and they were going to grind you out on top.
Yeah. And if you like mat wrestling, that was fun to watch. But if you didn't, it could be tough. But yeah, I mean, even the 7 seed here, Ruin Lawrence, coming down from heavyweight, wrestled at heavyweight.
Yeah, we didn't talk about that. He's had a nice season.
Yeah, I think he was a 4-timer in PA or something like that.
Yep.
So it was a big recruiting get for West Virginia. They get, seems like they get one superstar every year in their recruiting class, and they've done pretty well with him. So excited to see what Ruin Lawrence does in this bracket as well.
And now,
last but not least,
Sam is so excited to talk about. And
we're
least excited to talk about.
I wouldn't say least, but younger Bastida, 1 seed, kick it off here, Sam.
Yeah, I mean, he is, when he's going, he's super exciting. He's had a few matches this year where it kind of seems like he just wants to figure out how to win like a heavyweight. But I don't know that we'll necessarily see that in this tournament. He had 6 takedowns, I think, on the 4 seed David Zuba in the dual meet, who's a pretty stingy guy. It was a close match against Christian Carroll in the CKLV finals. Ooh, that's a whole other story. Like your 1 seed Younger Bastida, Iowa State, your 2 seed Connor Doucette, Oklahoma State, your 3 seed Christian Carroll from Wyoming, who was at both of those schools in previous seasons. So pretty cool to see Christian Carroll hit his stride out there at Wyoming. And I've got him beating Doucette in the semifinals. But this one, once you get outside of those top 3, I think Zuba's maybe a little bit on an island as the 4 seed. But after that, it's like all the way down. I look and I'm like, how is Luke Rasmussen not seeded? Then you look at the results. He's like, oh, it's like, okay, there's just a lot of coin toss matches from 5 all the way through this bracket. But hey, I'm a Luke Rasmussen guy. Like I love the bunny hop he did when he qualified last year. I love a great bit. I was sitting in the arena when he pulled that Granby roll out of his ass to beat Minnesota and beat Coy Hofke. Like that was sitting in a crowd full of Minnesota fans. They were feeling a little different, but as a Big 12 guy, I had my Minnesota shirt on because I had the tickets, but I was just dying laughing. I was like, holy shit, I can't believe he did it.
Yeah. No, I think Luke, if he's mentally right and healthy, I think he's not a guy you want to see if you're Jack Forbes or even Christian Carroll necessarily, but that's the big what if. I think Connor Doucette's an interesting story we have to talk about. Starter 2 years ago, comes back and takes a late red shirt because they go and get Wyatt Hendrickson in the portal. And, once again, wish Lee had been able to make it tonight because they give him his flowers. Lee, if you were on social media last year, Lee was saying, Hendrickson's going to be the national champ. And it's like, I was like, gosh, Lee's my buddy, so I'm not going to talk too much shit. But
he might be doing a little too much of the Kool-Aid.
Right. There's no way he beats Gable Steveson and then what the hell happens in the national finals, right?
Yeah, and he did the same thing with Hamady and O'Toole. Like,
right,
the most validated man in college wrestling. And I wish he was here to take his victory lap. But it's. I think he's having a lot more fun being an Oklahoma State fan these past 2 seasons than the last season of John Smith.
A couple years prior, and just to cap that point off, I was making Connor Doucette, kind of a cool story to wait his turn, and now be interesting to see what he can do. I don't think anyone has anything here for Bastida. I think Bastida is one of your 3 or 4 favorite guys to win this weight in the big tournament in 3 weeks here. And I don't, outside of like you said, maybe Carroll or Doucette, I don't think anyone's a huge challenge for him here. I really liked your point on Zuba there. It does feel like he's in a weird island where he's not on the same level with those top 3 guys, but I don't think he'll have any issues with Juan Mora in the second round there. Not that Moore is a bad wrestler. Moore has been around for a while here, and I think Moore is a solid heavyweight. But
yeah, I think that Suba and Younger, Younger's going to dominate it, I think. I mean, Suba is good, but he's not that good. I think Carroll's coming from the bottom side. I'm really impressed with the way Carroll wrestles right now. But I think ultimately Younger's going to win this. He's going to want to win the national championship too, probably. With the whole Luke thing, like you said, if he can get his mind right and he's healthy, he's good. But, I mean, his first match, he's wrestled Jack twice this year. Once healthy, once hurt. He lost 7-2 healthy. He lost 2-8 hurt. What's
the injury deal there for Rasmussen?
Something with his knee.
Okay.
I don't really know for sure what it is really, but yeah. And then he got beat to North Dakota State just last week. Match he shouldn't have lost, but he lost. And that's your wrestle back.
I shouldn't have lost to that guy.
Well, yeah, they beat him twice, but he was hurt both times there. Like, since that knee injury just happened, like, he just
that's
fell off.
Potential backside there.
Mm-hmm.
Aronson, it's kind of crazy. I mean, he steps in. So actually, you and I starter at heavyweight coming into this year is from my hometown, Wyatt Volker. Gets the shoulder injury. And so
Volker probably would have been an All-American if he'd been healthy.
Yeah, he'd be right there. I mean, I think it kind of works out for him, getting a year to adjust to heavyweight after being the Big 12 champ at 197. And then you look at how heavyweight clears out. You're like, okay, this might have worked out pretty good.
Right. No more Bastida, no more Ferrari. You lose a lot of the big.
No more Trumbull. Yeah.
Right.
So on that side,
Omaha kid.
Yeah. And Aronson steps in. He was actually like the same age as Volker and wrestle. He was like a 160 or 170 pounder, I want to say, his senior year. Yeah. He's like a goat farmer. He like shows goats. I think his Instagram handle is like Goat Roper 140 whatever.
That's funny.
But yeah, it's kind of crazy to me because I've seen this kid wrestle all these years, and just for him to be a heavyweight the last couple years is pretty wild.
Well, that's the way Trumbull is for me. He's a good couple years younger than I am, but I, still kind of keep up back home a little bit. And him, he wasn't small, but he was 160 or whatever the weight class was, junior, senior, and now he's great. He's had 5-6 years in NC State program, nutrition program, but now, heavyweight as a college senior is pretty wild.
Yeah. Yeah,
especially since he's going to the military, he's gonna have to lose some of that weight back again, probably. But
yeah, these college heavyweights, it's interesting. Like, it's been long enough where forever the line was like, "Oh, these aren't the old heavyweights. These aren't your father's heavyweights." Like these guys
coming back around.
Yeah, yeah.
Have you seen Micah Hawk? Have you watched any of his matches?
No,
our true freshman.
Oh, no, I haven't seen him.
Our backup heavyweight, he's going to be good.
Specimen.
Yeah. Nice. Yeah, and then you get like Iowa State has Cody Merrill's brother, Kobe Merrill, coming in at heavyweight, and he is just a brick shit house. Like, not much of a neck to him, so you can't get him in a front headlock or anything.
Right.
But yeah, I think the next generation, it's going to be interesting to see the next evolution of heavyweight as it goes from, the more mobile guys. Now you're getting, I guess, still more mobile guys, but without the leanness that we've had the past decade or so.
Yeah, the big guy, the good offensive linemen are coming back to wrestling again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. To that point, Micah Hawk's probably competing to be one of the starting guards on the football team this season. He plays.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, he immediately, the Monday after the NDSU duel, since he wasn't wrestling Big 12s, he immediately was at spring practice. So,
really? That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, we got anything else before we wrap up? Once again, Sam, thanks for jumping on. Feel free to plug your stuff to all our SDSU fans here because they want to know more about Big 12 wrestling in general. You're the man. You're a great follow on social media for all things wrestling, and you're an awesome dude. So what do we got to get you here when Iowa State's here next year? Minneapolis isn't that far of a drive.
It's not. I should get over. It's what, 3.5 hours, something like that.
Roughly.
Like, it's just the timing, it's always like freaking January. It's like, oh, do I want to commit to
Say the roads are going to be nasty.
Driving through rural Minnesota roads. Like, yeah, but I would love to sometime for sure. But yeah, it's at Slam Phillips on Twitter, part of CF After Dark, I guess is what we're called now. I think it's After Dark CF is the Twitter handle for that, for Iowa State sports. And then do the Pin 12 podcast with Lee when we have time, not too much this year, just with jobs and stuff got really crazy, but that's how life goes. And always happy to talk wrestling, whether it's in the DMs or on a podcast like this.
Question before you log off, and maybe you'll know this, maybe you don't. Do we get Iowa State at home next year, Alex or Sam?
Whenever we wrestle them next, I'm not sure what the cycle is, so maybe that's 2 years. But
because this year wasn't actually a Big 12 conference duel, they paid us to go do that Drescher.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this was that Drescher, hometown
deal.
Yeah, that we got.
I think you're right, Jordan. So maybe not then. Well, we'll have to, maybe when we got like a Friday, Sunday thing going on, if we get one early season and also got a Saturday playoff football game, you can make a weekend out of it.
Oh, yeah. That'd be a hell of a time. Yeah, I was, when was it when the Jackrabbits came and played? Did they play at US Bank or did they play at Target Field?
Target Field.
Yeah. And so there were all sorts of Jackrabbits roaming around downtown. That was a good time.
That's complete separate story. But my wife was pregnant with our son, so that'd been 3 years ago now because he's 2.
Yep.
And so we brought our now 4-year-old, then 1.5-year-old with, and because she loves going to football games and stuff. And yeah, so I was sicker than a dog. So I ref high school football and wrestling. I know you probably knew I ref wrestling. I don't know if you did football anyhow. So we're going to leave after my football game that Friday because it's going to be a blowout. And South Dakota has a mercy rule. It's one of the few states that does. Well, in AA, second highest class in South Dakota, the mercy rule is optional.
Oh, no.
So the game was delayed because of a lightning delay. And so we finally get to halftime and T's just pounding Douglas. It's like 70-6 or something like that. It's like, all right. And our crew starts jogging to the showers, and the T coach is like, where are you guys going? We're going to – and you get it. So it's like, we're going to take the ball in the second half. It's like you guys are playing the second half? He's like, yeah. And it was like
classic football guy move to turn down the mercy rule.
And so they go and ask the Douglas coach. And the Douglas coach is like, yeah, I guess, because Douglas is in Rapid City. He's like, guess we drove this far. We may as well play. And so between that and the lightning delay, and then my wife is sitting waiting for me at the Walmart in Sioux Falls, runs the battery out of our car. I have to go into Walmart and get a jump pack to jump our car.
Oh, no.
We finally get on the road like 11 o'clock, and we're in the middle of nowhere, Minnesota, at like 1:30, and I start getting like just stomach bug to pull off on the side of the 2-lane and puke. Luckily, I felt okay enough by the morning to go to the game, and it was like we got to our hotel in Minneapolis like 2:33 in the morning. Pregnant wife, 1-year-old. I've got like food poisoning or stomach bugs. You just reminded me of that misadventure.
Well, yeah, sorry to bring that up. Then you'll have to come back when you're healthy.
Right. Well, we'll end her here today. We want to give her a get jacked on 3 here, boys.
Sounds good.
Run Rabs.
1, 2, 3.
Get jacked.
Get jacked.